So, Joker 2, or Joker Folie A Deux, came out on October 4th, 2024, and the movie bombed so badly that it's releasing on digital services like Fandango at Home, formerly known as Vudu, on October 29th of 2024. So, not even a full month in the theaters, and it's already being shipped to digital to basically die. The same thing happened with Blue Beetle and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, where those only played in theaters for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and then were shipped off to PVOD services like Vudu, and then within like 2 weeks of coming to PVOD services, there were massive discounts on that movie. You know, buy now for $9.99. Guarantee you what's going to happen is Joker 2 or Joker Folie A Deux is going to release, and it's going to release at a price point of like $24.99 for buy now. And then 2 weeks are going to go by, you're going to see massive price cuts down to $9.99 because no one's going to buy the movie even at $24.99. So, instead of rambling on and on and on about the digital release, this video wants to focus on why did Joker 2 bomb as badly as it did. And I have come up with 3 reasons for why. There's probably a lot more that we can go into, but for the sake of time, let's just stick to these 3 reasons. Because I really don't want to turn this into an hour-long video if I don't need to. The first main reason that it bombed, and I know there are some people in my circle, specifically Crazy Joe from the Crazy Joe Concessions and Crazy Joe Adventures channel, that are going to probably blow their lid as soon as I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The first reason that Joker Folie A Deux bombed is because it was an unnecessary sequel. Okay, the first movie was about Arthur Fleck's descent into madness, how he became the Joker in the first place. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it was done. It's a perfect one-off movie that never needed a follow-up. And as a result of releasing this follow-up, Joker Folie A Deux, with it being so bad, it could retroactively affect the first movie's perception. And I'll give you guys a perfect example just from firsthand experience. There was a horror movie that came out in 2005 that I really, really liked. It's called The Descent. And it's about a group of, I think it was like 5 or 6 women that go into caves. I believe it was in the state of Virginia. It doesn't really matter where the movie takes place. But anyway, they go down into these caves. And about 45 minutes into the movie, they get caved in and have to try to find an alternate way out. Well, as they're trying to find an alternate way out, they stumble upon these monsters that have been down there for thousands of years that were former humans but had to obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? Had to metamorphosize in order to stay down there. So the really, really pale skin, the really, really dark eyes so they can all see in the dark. And these monsters are killing them. They're killing all the monsters, you know, blah, 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 blah. One of the women makes it out, basically standard horror movie stuff. But here's what The Descent did that was so magical about that first movie. Is that you never saw a monster chase out the last surviving woman out of the cave. So they left this aura of mystery that did the monsters actually exist, or were the women going so stir crazy down in the cave that they were just killing each other and fantasizing these monsters? And I really, really like that about the horror movie, and a lot of people liked that about The Descent. And then 4 years after The Descent, so now we're jumping forward to 2009. 4 years after The Descent, they released The Descent Part 2, and it takes place immediately after the first movie. I think it takes place only like 3 or 4 days after the end of the first movie. And what is the one thing that The Descent Part 2 did? It demythicized the monsters. It confirmed that the monsters were real. And oh, spoiler alert for horror movies that have come out, you know, almost 20 years ago now. Julie, one of the main girls that goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, gets her kneecap taken out by a pickaxe by the surviving woman, and is seen as, you know, basically being left for dead, being devoured by the monsters. Well, in The Descent Part 2, after only just 2 or 3 days after the first movie, she becomes one with the monsters, the kneecap is perfectly healed, and basically she survives the first movie, so it's like, oh, great. So now I know where The Descent leads to with The Descent Part 2. And as a result of watching The Descent Part 2, I have never wanted to go back and rewatch the first movie because I saw the unnecessary sequel. I saw where the first movie led to, and sometimes you can't unsee that path. And so, unfortunately, The Descent Part 2 ruined the first Descent movie for me, despite the first movie being really, really good. As long as you never watch The Descent Part 2, although I probably just ruined The Descent for all of you that are listening to this, because I basically just told you the basic plot of The Descent and where it led to The Descent Part 2. So, if that's the case, then, whoops. But, anyway, just think of it as a buyer beware if you ever want to watch The Descent. So let's go on to my second reason for why I believe that Joker Folie A Deux bombed. The second reason is that it was a musical. So the first movie was a serious, it was a character study, almost like a drama, where you see a man just slowly descend into madness, how Arthur Fleck went from basically quasi-normal man to how he lost, how he became a few fries short of a Happy Meal and became the Joker and just wanted to burn society to the ground. The old African proverb, the child that is rejected by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. So the producers in Warner Bros. Decide, hey, let's take that movie. Let's take that character study of how a quasi-normal man just descends into madness and wants to burn down society, and let's just make it an over-the-top jukebox musical with Lady Gaga. Despite the fact that the last movie musical to do really well was La La Land from 2016. And let's put La La Land into perspective. Joker Folie A Deux had a reported production budget of $300 million. That does not account for marketing. 20 million of that went to Joaquin Phoenix. Another 20 million of that went to Todd Phillips, the director. And another 12 million of that went to Lady Gaga. Okay? La La Land was made on a budget of $30 million back in 2016. So 10% of Joker Folie A Deux' budget, and grossed roughly $500 million worldwide, so effectively $500 million on a $30 million budget. And so far, Joker Folie A Deux, on a budget of $300 million, again, that's the estimated budget, not accounting for marketing, has only grossed, by comparison, $192,009,748 worldwide as of the recording and uploading of this video. So, yeah, let's take a serious character drama, turn it into a musical, despite the fact that the last movie musical Do Really Well came out in 2016. So as of the recording and uploading of this, that was 8 years ago. Yeah, that was a very swell idea. And the final reason, my third and final reason for why Joker Folie A Deux basically bombed at the box office, is that it basically just told the fans to fuck off. Right? There have been so many movies in the last decade that have done that. Let me ask you this question. How did that work for Ghostbusters 2016 when they basically did the exact same thing? They were cherry-picking YouTube comments on major news shows like the Today Show, Good Morning America, CNN, whatever. And writing off as, everyone who criticizes the all-female Ghostbusters is a sexist. And Paul Feig and Melissa McCarthy were going out on all these interview shows like Ellen DeGeneres and the Today Show, and basically calling anyone who criticized the Ghostbusters 2016 trailer as 40-year-old basement-dwelling trolls that still live with mommy. How well did that fare for Ghostbusters 2016? Because last time I checked, Ghostbusters 2016 cost Sony, on the low end, $70 million, and on the high end, $120 million. Remember, Ghostbusters Afterlife was made as an apology for how badly they handled Ghostbusters 2016. And so in Ghostbusters 2016, Sony disowned this movie so much so that when they released a complete series pack, it contained the first Ghostbusters from 84, Ghostbusters 2 from 89, and Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think the box set released, I know it was just before Ghostbusters Frozen Empire came out, so this was like 2022. I think I did a video on this, where Ghostbusters 2016 was completely omitted from the box set. And Paul Feig threw a massive hissy fit on Twitter, and so what Sony did to basically calm him down was basically just go, okay, we're going to include Ghostbusters 2016 as part of the box set, but it's going to be a digital download code that you can use to redeem on, services like Vudu or Fandango's old service from the time, I don't even remember what it was called, or the Google Play Store, or Movies Anywhere. I almost forgot Disney service. And basically, I got Ghostbusters 2016 for free when I signed up for Vudu. This was back in, I think, 2019, like late 2019, early 2020. And it was one of the free movies that you got if you connected like so many different accounts to bring your library over. And I never contacted Vudu to take it out of my library because I had the first two Ghostbusters movies from the 80s in there. And I was always really concerned that Vudu would accidentally take out the good Ghostbusters from 84 and leave Ghostbusters 2016. So even though I could have gotten it removed from my library, I never did. Anyway, I'm gonna get on. I know I've gone on a Ghostbusters tangent, but the other movie that did really, really badly when it basically told the fans to go fuck themselves is remember the Last Jedi backlash because everyone was disappointed with it, and rightfully so. How did Rian Johnson handle that on Twitter? Oh, that's right. He called everyone who criticized The Last Jedi a bunch of man-babies on Twitter. That led to Solo, a Star Wars story, bombing at the box office. The only Star Wars movie to outright bomb at the box office, by the way, was Solo, a Star Wars story. And Rian Johnson's next movie, which was Knives Out, which is a really good movie, I argue Knives Out didn't do as well as it should have because he called everyone who criticized The Last Jedi, again, whether they had legitimate criticisms or not, he was calling everyone who criticized his movie a bunch of man babies on Twitter, and they should just, grow the fuck up and get over it. Something to that effect. Maybe not that word for word. I don't have the tweets pulled up, but something to the effect of, grow the fuck up and get over it. Kevin Smith did the exact same thing for Masters of the Universe Revelation when in the first episode they killed off He-Man, basically confirming the rumor that had been swirling for a while, and everyone being rightfully upset because Masters of the Universe was all centered around He-Man. And Kevin Smith was coming on interviews at the time and saying, grow the fuck up, blah, 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 blah. Despite the fact that only the first 5 episodes had released, that was a Netflix decision, by the way, to withhold the second 5 episodes. But because of how Kevin Smith also addressed the, Masters of the Universe fan base by basically telling everyone to grow the fuck up for criticizing the decision to kill off He-Man, Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2 didn't do as well as Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 1. I believe Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 1 did crack the top 10 in terms of streaming ratings for Netflix when that came out. Masters of the Universe Revelations Part 2, crickets by comparison. But anyway, getting back to Knives Out in later Glass Onion, Rian Johnson calling everyone and their mother man babies for criticizing The Last Jedi on Twitter, while Knives Out grossed, I think, roughly $300 million on a reported budget of $40 million, it should have made a lot more with that cast. You had Daniel Craig, you had Ana de Armas, you had Jamie Lee Curtis, Jamie Lee Curtis, you had Christopher Plummer played the murder victim. I don't want to spoil Knives Out for people who haven't seen it, because Knives Out is actually a good movie. But there were many, many people at the time when the trailer came out that wrote off Knives Out because, this is by the same guy that called us a bunch of man babies on Twitter, and I can't necessarily blame those people. And I know I've gone on and on and on about why Joker 2 bombed, so I'm going to end off the video with this. And I think this sums up perfectly why Joker 2 bombed. With genre comes expectations. Right, if you're playing around with a superhero movie or you're playing around with an established character, you have to do what the audience wants to a degree. Okay, you can't do everything that they want, and that's how Rick and Morty ended up in the position that they were in by season 3, when they catered so much to the fan base that it actually ruined the show. That's Rick and Morty season 3 is actually the perfect example of why you shouldn't give the audience everything that they want. Right, you can do what you want with a superhero movie or what you want with an established character to a degree, but like I said, you need to balance that with fan expectations. And the perfect example of that was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Okay, the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, James Franco, and Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. The first movie was just focused on, okay, let's make a good Spider-Man movie. Then you get to Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man does go more art house without crapping all over Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man 2 is, okay, let's take away Spider-Man's powers, and let's take Spider-Man back to Peter Parker and force him to readjust to normal life without his powers. He's not Spider-Man anymore. And then eventually he gains his powers back and saves the day. And, you know, Spider-Man 3 was a very famous example of studio interference. Okay, one of the worst examples of genre before expectations was Ang Lee's Hulk. Because with Ang Lee's Hulk, Ang Lee was coming right off the heels of a movie called Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, released back in 2000. It was a huge martial arts movie from the year 2000. And what happened with his Hulk movie is that Ang Lee wanted to make an art house movie first and a superhero movie second. Right, which is why you get the whole thing with, like, you know, with Bruce Banner and the introspective of Bruce Banner battling the Hulk, whereas it should have followed the Sam Raimi trajectory, where just make the first movie a good Hulk movie, and then the sequel have it go more art house, and you can do all that stuff there. So again, the reason I believe that Joker 2 bombed boils down to 3 primary reasons. Again, there could be more. The first reason, it was an unnecessary sequel. The second reason was it was a fucking musical of all genres. And the third and main reason is that it basically told the DC fans to fuck off, and the fan base responded in kind, and that's why it bombed opening weekend and continued to go down and down and down and down. So much so that Terrifier 3, a movie with a significantly smaller budget, also about a psycho killer clown, was making more money than Joker Folie A Deux, as basically a gigantic fuck you to DC and Warner Brothers. And remember, folks, I hate to sound cliche, I hate to sound like Uncle Ben from the first Spider-Man movie, but with genre comes audience expectations.